in reality, I grew up in a sign shop. My dad started the sign business when he got out of the Air Force and moved to the San Fernando Valley and Van Nuys and opened up Neill Signs, and I was born and literally raised in a sign shop. So I grew up building sign panels, and when I was 12, 13 years old, I'd be in there building sign panels and roller coating backgrounds, and then I got into painting, and all the guys would teach me this or that, and eventually through the years I became a lettering man and learned under really good sign men, journeyman sign men that had worked at Knott's Berry Farm and Disneyland sign shops, and I learned how to be a good journeyman sign painter. When I was 35 years old, I had 2 kids, and I felt like in 1982 Orange County was growing too big, too fast, so I decided to move to Sun Valley, Idaho. So we had a ranch there, and I started Sun Valley Sign Studio and did every kind of sign imaginable there, cut out letters and lettering on buildings, and it was tough because a lot of times you've got to wade through waist-deep snow, and that was fun when you're young, but the older I got, the less fun it became. So finally in 1994, I was 48, we moved to Hawaii, to Kona, Hawaii, and we built a home up in Honolulu, up above Kona, and a shop on the property, and started Signworks Hawaii. About 1998, there was a NBC TV series that was started in Hawaii called Wind on Water, and the art director for this NBC show needed somebody like me that could hand letter instead of all the stick-on letters, because by that time the computers had come in and all the signs, so many of the signs were vinyl stick-on lettering. And so I'd bring these neat signs, all with nice frames and all painted up beautifully, and I'd bring him this nice shiny sign, and at first he said, "Watch this, Steve," and he'd call the set guys in from the back of the lot there, and they'd grab the sign. He says, "Wait here." So we'd sit around, and half an hour later they'd bring this sign back, and it's all banged up and scratched and sprayed on, and it looked like it was 30 years old, and that's what he wanted. So he had to have painted signs so they could antique them. And I was just shocked, he's ruining my beautiful signs. The show went on for, I think it did 8 episodes, and it got closed down. And so when they were shutting it down, he gave me a couple of the signs that we had done as souvenirs from the show. I hung them on the wall, and okay. And everybody that came to my place liked those old-looking signs, the best. What's the story on this? Where'd you find this? Blah, blah, blah. So then I started to get the idea, well, maybe I could make a few Hawaii signs, like this, that would have some significance, and I could antique them, because I found out how to do it, how they did it with the shows, and it took off, and it was paying the bills, and I couldn't believe it, but I wasn't going to fight it. So and I'm a history buff, I'm a history nut, so I wanted to do more and more ones that were historically accurate. So I started to improve my library with a lot of history books on Hawaiiana. And so I would do as many as I could that were historically accurate, as opposed to, this way to the beach or something. What people need to remember is that every single one of them, we've individually made. There's no machine that cranks these things out or prints them. We start with a big sheet of wood, and we have templates that we cut them out. We cut the panel out. Maybe it's a circle or a shape of a surfboard or whatever. Then we route and sand the edges to get the edges all good, and there's never a sharp edge on any of the signs, whether they're rectangular, sharp cornered, the corners are rounded. Then they're primed, and in our spray room we spray prime them, and we have to sand them Then we do a finish background coat, and that's again sprayed on. And most of the time now with our finish background paint jobs, we'll do a graduation airbrush where we'll start with the lighter color in the middle and work out and use darker and darker colors as we get out toward the edge of the sign. This came about basically from, if you think of a piece of an old parchment document, you think of a piece with the edges darker than the center, you know, and that's kind of the idea of the way it started. So then from there, you start doing the lettering. Patterns are made, paper patterns. This was made for the Eagles office. I don't know if you can see it. The Take It Easy Cafe, Winslow, Arizona. Since 1972, when the song came out. Open 24 hours. But it's an old, you know, it's an old Route 66 style design that I cooked up. On images, sometimes I'll do a silk screen of a surfing image, but that silk screen, I hand draw it and then I hand cut it out. And you squeegee over it and it prints through. Once you get a shiny sign, a perfect shiny finished sign, then we have to go backwards with it and antique it. So then we start in wet sanding it and very subtly working that way, and then dinging it, special techniques we have for dinging the signs and drilling where the screw holes would have been in the sign and reaming those out, and then blackening the dings and scratches, and then more spraying and antique work, and then a clear coat on the whole thing once it's done, and then you flip it over and paint the back of the sign and sign and number them and date them. Do the hanger on it, and then the steel wire hanger, and they're done. But there's a lot to it, so much more than meets the eye, I'm afraid.